The moment a place appears in the Michelin Guide, something quietly powerful happens. Streets that once felt familiar begin to feel electric. Kitchens that have worked in silence suddenly feel seen. And for diners, curiosity awakens, not just about food, but about culture, identity, and the stories simmering beneath every dish. When the Michelin Guide arrived in the Philippines, it was not simply a list being published. It was a spotlight turning toward a nation whose flavors have always carried depth, resilience, and soul. The Philippines has long been known for its warmth, its music, and its ability to turn any gathering into a celebration. Food has always been at the heart of that spirit. From humble roadside stalls to refined dining rooms tucked behind busy city streets, Filipino cuisine tells stories of history, migration, adaptation, and creativity. For years, travelers spoke about these flavors through personal blogs, whispered recommendations, and family memories. Then came the Michelin Guide, a name that carries weight across the global dining world, and suddenly those stories were being told on a much larger stage. The arrival of the Michelin Guide in the Philippines felt like a moment of recognition that many believed was overdue. Filipino chefs had been pushing boundaries, honoring tradition, and redefining local ingredients for a long time. What changed was visibility. The guide did not invent excellence in the country, it simply acknowledged what had already been there, quietly evolving in kitchens filled with passion, sweat, and pride. To understand why this moment mattered so deeply, it helps to understand what the Michelin Guide represents. For diners around the world, it has become a symbol of trust. It suggests that a restaurant is worth a journey, worth attention, worth curiosity. But beyond dining, the guide also shapes narratives. It influences tourism, inspires young cooks, and often defines how a country's cuisine is perceived internationally. When the Philippines entered that conversation, it signaled that Filipino food belonged firmly on the global culinary map. Yet this was not a simple story of foreign approval. It was more nuanced, more layered. Some celebrated the recognition as validation. Others approached it with thoughtful caution, asking whose stories were being highlighted and whose might still remain in the shadows. These conversations unfolded not as conflicts, but as reflections of a nation deeply connected to its food and protective of its culinary identity. What made the Michelin Guide's presence especially compelling was the diversity it encountered. Filipino cuisine is not a single flavor or technique, it is a mosaic shaped by geography, history, and personal memory. Coastal regions celebrate the sea with freshness and simplicity. Mountain areas lean into preservation, smoke, and earthiness. Urban kitchens experiment with form and presentation while staying rooted in comfort. The guide stepped into this complexity, encountering dishes that balance sour, salty, sweet, and savory in ways that feel instinctive rather than calculated. In many featured kitchens, chefs spoke not of chasing recognition, but of honoring their roots. They talked about grandparents who cooked without recipes, markets visited at dawn, and ingredients chosen not for trend, but for meaning. For them, inclusion in the guide was not a finish line, it was a pause, to reflect before continuing forward. At the same time, diners across the country felt a shift. Local restaurants that had long been beloved by communities suddenly saw new faces at their tables. Travelers arrived with expectations shaped by the guide, eager to taste what had been praised. This brought opportunity, but also pressure. With global attention comes the challenge of staying authentic while meeting heightened scrutiny. Some chefs embraced this as motivation. Others reminded themselves that the heart of their cooking remained unchanged, regardless of who was watching. In the broader culinary world, the Philippines' inclusion sparked curiosity. International audiences who once associated the country mainly with adobo or lumpia began to discover deeper layers. They learned about regional specialties, indigenous ingredients, and cooking techniques passed down through generations. The guide acted as a doorway, inviting people to explore further rather than offering a complete picture. Halfway through this unfolding story, a quieter question emerged, one that deserves attention. What happens after the spotlight turns on? Recognition can be fleeting if it is not supported by sustainability, mentorship, and cultural respect. Some observers noted the true growth would depend not on awards, but on investment in local farmers, culinary education, and fair opportunities for small establishments. According to available information, conversations around these topics grew louder as the guide's influence expanded. This became a secondary hook, pulling people back into the narrative. The Michelin Guide was no longer just about dining experiences. It had become part of a larger discussion about the future of Filipino food. Could global recognition coexist with local values? Could innovation walk hand in hand with tradition? These questions did not have simple answers, but they sparked meaningful dialogue. What stood out was how Filipino chefs responded. Many chose collaboration over competition. Pop-up dinners, shared kitchens, and community events became spaces for learning and support. Instead of guarding secrets, chefs exchanged techniques and stories. The guide may have opened the door, but it was the community that decided how to walk through it. For diners, both local and international, the experience evolved as well. Eating at a Michelin-recognized restaurant in the Philippines was not just about refinement or technique, it was about narrative. Servers explained the origins of dishes with pride. Menus read like personal essays rather than formal documents. Each meal felt like an invitation into someone's history. Importantly, street food and humble eateries continued to thrive alongside fine dining. Some of the most talked about moments came from simple dishes prepared with care and consistency. This balance reminded everyone that excellence does not require luxury, it requires intention, respect for ingredients, and an understanding of the people being fed. As time passed, the initial excitement settled into something steadier and more meaningful. The Michelin Guide became part of the culinary ecosystem rather than an external force. Chefs no longer spoke about it in hushed tones. It became one of many measures, not the only one. What mattered more was whether a restaurant could tell its story honestly and connect with its guests. Near the end of this journey, a reflective realization emerged. Recognition is powerful, but identity is stronger. The Philippines did not change its food to fit the guide. Instead, the guide adapted to the Philippines, learning its rhythms, flavors, and values. That shift may be its lasting impact. The Michelin Guide in the Philippines is ultimately a story about visibility, pride, and dialogue. It's about kitchens that have always cooked with heart, finally being seen by a wider world. It's about a nation confident enough to accept recognition without losing itself. And food as a living language, constantly evolving while staying rooted in memory. As you reflect on this story, consider what recognition truly means. Is it about stars, titles, or rankings? Or is it about connection, understanding, and shared experience? The Philippine culinary scene invites you to explore that question with every bite. If this journey through the Michelin Guide in the Philippines sparked your curiosity, take a moment to show your support by liking this video. Subscribe to the channel for more stories that explore culture, food, and the moments that shape our world. And share your thoughts in the comments. Whether you're a traveler, a home cook, or simply someone who loves a good story, your perspective adds to the conversation. As you reflect on this story, consider what recognition truly means. Is it about stars, titles, or rankings placed beside a name? Or is it something deeper, about connection, understanding, and the shared experience that brings people together around a table? Food has always been more than nourishment. It carries memory, identity, and emotion, and nowhere is that more evident than in the Philippine culinary scene. With every bite, Filipino cuisine tells a story of history, resilience, and community. From humble street-side eateries to refined dining rooms, each dish reflects generations of tradition, shaped by local ingredients and cultural exchange. The arrival of the Michelin Guide in the Philippines invites us not only to celebrate excellence, but also to rethink what excellence truly looks like. Sometimes it's found in technique and presentation. Other times, it's found in warmth, familiarity, and the feeling of being welcomed. If this journey through the Michelin Guide in the Philippines sparked your curiosity, take a moment to show your support by liking this video. Subscribe to the channel for more stories that explore culture, food, and the moments that shape our world. And share your thoughts in the comments. Whether you are a traveler, a home cook, or simply someone who loves a good story, your perspective adds depth and meaning to the conversation.